toxic politics and internal party crisis, which tend to lead to him making these decisions. This morning, I'm joined by spokesperson of the Obidient movement, Dapo Adaramewa, who is also a governance consultant, and he's going to give us a bit of insight into what this means for the coalition, as well as what opposition could stand to benefit from this move, seeing that those who were part of the coalition of the ADC in the person of Peter Obi and Kwankwaso, the former governor of Kano State, have decided to jump ship and move to a new bride, which is largely referred to as the NDC. He's joining the conversation virtually. We are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook at Nigeria Info Abuja. You can go on there right now to catch the conversation live and be a part of it. Good morning, Dapo, if you can hear me. Great to have you on the conversation this morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome. I'm going to have you react. I'm not sure. I don't know if you heard the sound bite played where Peter Obi was trying to address his concerns around worries raised from his leaving, one party to the other, and his plans for Nigeria.
Well, I didn't hear the clip, but I have listened to his interviews around the defection and things, so I definitely can speak to it.
Okay, so let's have you respond to that real quick, because various concerns have been raised. Before we get into what this means for the coalition and what expectations should be, this constant movement across parties has constantly raised the question. When he references toxicity as being the reason, some would say, well, some of his supporters are just as toxic, and if he raises this concern, how is he able to control those who are supporting him?
Yeah, so I think the problem we have in Nigeria is that we are so used to the abnormal that when we see normal, we think it is wrong. And what I mean by that is that Nigerians are so used to leaders who are willing to compromise on their values, who are willing to work with just about any conditions, who are willing to adapt to in the face of corruption and all these other kind of things, and play the game, if you will. They're used to leaders who are willing to, take part in corrupt practices. So when they see a person whose integrity and values will not allow him, concede to certain kinds of behavior, we are all shocked. We think, okay, something must be wrong with this individual. But the truth is, there's nothing wrong with Peter Obi saying that, okay, it has become very clear that the coalition is not going to serve its purpose. It's become very clear that, nefarious activities have started to happen within the coalition itself. And would more than likely not lead to the change that Nigerians are looking for. At the end of the day, Nigerians are looking for something absolutely, a break from the norm, a break from the same old routine, the same old promises, the same old wickedness that we have seen from all these leaders, that we believe that person is Peter Obi. And so wherever he goes, the vast majority of Nigerians who want something different will follow him. They don't really care. But
there is also the concern that if indeed he has the best interests of Nigerians at heart and doesn't want to work with the regular, why did he consider going into coalition with them in the first instance? You recall that he exited the PDP for the Labour Party, where he contested in 2023. And at the time, Atiku was the flag bearer for the PDP in 2023, and he exited that party. So if they had a friction and then years later come together again with the same persons whom he left the party for, if you look at the Ibadan Convention, for instance, where a faction of the PDP came together to say that they support a joint ticket for 2027, were all of these worries and concerns not envisioned? Because it's for some people disappointing that all of the coalition members come together under one party with the hopes that the votes and the numbers would not be broken. But with this exit, it goes back to saying that what played out in the last elections might just be the same case again.
Well, yes, I can understand that sentiment, but I think, one of the things Peter Obi has always said and has been very clear on is the fact that he can work with anybody so long as the competition is fair.
Mm.
Do you understand? And at this juncture, ideally, let's face the reality, right? Peter Obi is the most bankable candidate for any coalition to back at this point, right? He's the one that people believe in. He's a beacon of hope. He's the only person who has ever, in the history of Nigeria, pulled so many votes from what they said was a non-structured party, a party he joined less than a year before the election, right? So it's very clear that there's a movement behind him, whereas other more prominent, people who are going for the position, like Atiku, are just, a person, an individual who has made a career out of running in elections. I think he has done that consistently for almost 20-something years, So the only person who has perfectly normal for him to be willing to work with these individuals. But if it becomes clear that, they are not willing to play by the rules, they're not willing to have a fair primaries, amongst other things, then he's well within his rights to change parties. And again, let's be honest with ourselves, right? Because let's take a step back and ask ourselves, who cares? There's that old saying, who cares whether the cat is black or white so long as it catches the mouse, right? Who cares if Peter Obi is in ADC, NDC, EDC, YFP? Nobody really cares. We don't have an affinity for these parties. These parties are not based on any philosophical, arrangement or beliefs. These are just simple vehicles, right, for us to be able to save this nation. So nobody cares if we change the vehicle at this point. All we care is that, is this the person that can deliver Nigerians? And vast majority of people believe that he is.
Okay.
So it's
So I'm going to play another clip, which has a major candidate as well, who is hoping to clinch a ticket in the opposition. That is the person of Rotimi Amechi, and something that he shared. And this takes me back to what I asked you earlier around the toxicity of politics in Nigeria, which was referenced by Peter Obi. And maybe if the supporters are to blame for some of this friction and concerns that are raised with internal crisis. Take a listen to this. I hope you're able to hear it, and then I'll have you speak on it.
I didn't include my people. My people don't fight. Are they saying that makes person fighting on social media? It is between Atiku's people and Obi's people. And Obi's people abusing me. We never reply. It's not because we don't know English or we can't reply. The reason why we don't reply is that we always want peace. The Obedience insists Obi or nothing. Do they have the numbers? That's the question. The Atiku people say Atiku or nothing. Do they have the numbers? There are things you say when you win, it becomes difficult to bring everybody together. So because we know we will win, we're not abusing everybody, so we can bring everybody together.
All right, so I heard you say you can't hear what the clip I was playing for you. So I'll give you a quick summary of what it's about. Now, what the former minister and governor of Rivers State shares is that his supporters don't fight on social media, and that it's not for a lack of vocabulary, it's for peers. That what he majorly has noticed is that supporters of Peter Obi, Obedience, like they're widely referred to as, are the ones who incite the constant back and forth, and they have constantly called out Atiku and his supporters as to why they are not giving room to the South specifically to clinch the ticket in the ADC. And this could be the reason why whatever toxic climate or internal crisis has brewed in the ADC or the coalition has...
Because the network keeps cutting off.
Apologies for that. Is it any better now?
It's better now. I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I played the clip by Rotimi Amechi where he was addressing his followers and bringing into concern the role of supporters in toxic politics. And he specifically referenced the Obedience and the supporters of Atiku and the constant back and forths that this has brought, and maybe how it could be contributing to toxic politics in the coalition, which has led to the exit of, some persons who are worthy of clinching the tickets in the coalition.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I got most of what you said, right? And it centers around toxic politics and how that relates to the obedience. Now,
Yes.
there's this rumor that keeps going around as though obedience there's nothing inherently toxic. We have extreme people on all sides of politics, and I will speak to the fact that if any, party has toxic individuals, it would probably be the ruling party. And what I mean by toxic individuals are people who are willing to go to the polling units and attack people and beat people because of votes, right? People who are willing to bribe and, take bribes on behalf of votes. That to me is the height of toxicity. Somebody calling somebody something online is barely, consequential, right? And the vast majority of obedience are not like that. We had 6-something million obedience come out of their house and vote in the last election, right? They are not all on Twitter. This idea that, the Twitter army is where obese places, if it's online votes. No. Twitter, by its very nature, is an environment that, brings forth the more extreme voices, right? If I put out a comment today and I insult somebody, I'm very sure that tape will go viral. But when I speak to you in a civil way like this, and I talk on news stations, on radio stations, and I speak very calmly as an obedient, nobody really cares about that. Wait till one extreme idiot decides to speak.
Okay, also language. We're on air right now, so we can't use some kind of word.
Sorry, my apologies. But
Yes.
Yes, somebody decides to speak out of term, and all of a sudden everybody loses the plot, right?
Go ahead.
They partake in toxic politics is not new, right? We've had Atiku supporters say all sorts of things, but again, at the end of the day, no matter what is said, no matter all these false claims, that is not what really matters. At this point, we are a nation that is on the cusp of a crisis, or in the middle of a crisis. Let me be more accurate, right? We're in the middle of a crisis where people cannot afford to eat 3 times a day, where people are dying in hospitals because they are underfunded, where the very people that we trust with our security are taken care of, they're underfed. Like, who cares what somebody tweets online? I personally don't care, and I think the vast majority of Nigerians don't care. What they're looking at now is who among these candidates is the person that they believe in their heart of hearts will have their interest.
When you say that nobody cares what is being said online, isn't that an avenue for supporters to be able to convert other supporters to see reason why they should be a part of what the movement is? That could be an avenue. That could either change, make or mar the decision of the next person to support a particular candidate. So when you say who really cares, there are people who care and who look at how supporters of a specific candidate are acting before they choose to support them or not. Don't you think it plays a role?
Again, my point is that in the extremes, right, you have people who speak out of turn, right? And if somebody asks me who's, between somebody who claims to be an obedient and speaks out of term and speaks in a derogatory manner to his fellow person, or somebody who claims to be an APC supporter, who carries a machete to the polling booth, who tells Igbo people that they have no right to vote, I definitely, I'm more inclined to tolerate at least the person who the worst they can do is just open their mouth, right? So this toxic politics is not something that is coming from obedience, right? It is not something that is even conducted in its most extreme form by the obedience, right? Obedience are a vast majority of people, professionals, well-meaning Nigerians, everyday people who just want to see change.
Okay,
right?
We're going to get into this move from the coalition and what it means in the coming months for the opposition and what expectations should be. We've seen Obi and Kwankwaso. We've heard about the OK movement as well, and even though Kwankwaso, in a statement released recently, says he hasn't exactly shown who he's supporting for president, but the move seems to suggest something otherwise. So I'll have you share on that in a bit. To take a quick breather and jump on it. You can join the conversation. We are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook at Nigeria Info Abuja. Dr. Mrs. Onma Olebara, where it says Peter Obi took the wisest decision as we didn't need this hide and seek game. Anywhere he goes, the Obedience go, because we see him as the light set on the mountaintop to bring Nigeria out of quagmire we have found ourselves in. We cannot keep quiet and allow our hard-earned democracy to be destroyed. We must get it right in 2027, as we cannot continue suffering in the midst of plenty while leaders live in opulence. You can join the conversation on the WhatsApp platform 08099930137. Send a message, short and simple, so we can take as many as possible. Don't forget to include your name and your location.
This is Morning Crossfire. More conversation, more talk, more right after this.
Bangladesh.
This is Morning Crossfire.
All right, thank you so much for staying tuned. It's 8:30 right here. I just played you a clip where Peter Obi and Kwankwaso met with the NDC members following their defection from the coalition ADC. Let's get into what prompted this defection. We know that the coalition has been going through a bit of judicial concerns in recent times, with the latest being the Supreme Court sending them back to the Federal High Court to sort out whatever cases that are pending. But what prompted this move to the NDC? Because if you remember clearly, what was agreed on or verbally agreed on by the candidates is anyone who emerges would be supported by everybody else. So what changed?
Well, a lot of what you said is what prompted this change, right? In terms of when we look at how, the government has made the political scene, which is interesting because I think this might be the first time in our history we've had a government so terrified of the opposition that just about every loophole, every nook and cranny has been crawled into in order to disrupt other political parties, right? So we saw what happened with the Labour Party. We saw that the problem followed to the ADC. And so that created a very toxic environment, right? And it just wasn't an environment in which Peter Obi felt comfortable in, alongside some other internal differences, which he hasn't, expanded on, but has hinted towards, that made him join a different party.
Could it be what played out at the Ibadan convention a few weeks ago? Because what was said or what was shared is there were hopes that there would be a firm decision on where to zone the party ticket to, but that did not exactly play out. And following how that convention went and the reactions from it, he didn't exactly speak to anything that happened, even though he was in attendance. So could that have prompted his deciding to move to the NDC or away from the coalition?
I would almost say that I'm less concerned with why he moved. I'm more concerned with, is it in the best interest of Nigerians? And yes, it is in the best interest of Nigerians to see Peter Obi on that presidential ballot, right? And so I don't want to speculate specifically what happened in Ibadan, right? But there are several factors, right? Especially a very prominent factor is the fact that this government seems to be determined to turn this into a one-party state and has done everything within its power, publicly even acknowledged it. I know the chief of staff of the president was caught on video, talking about stay there, disrupt the party, all of those kind of things.
Yeah, but even the person he referenced and asked to stay in the party has defected from the party, citing concerns around the internal crisis in the coalition. And, he came out to say that the party was hijacked from them. There was no due process in the coalition coming together or getting their express permission from every party member. And he just felt like he had been slighted by that. But he's defected.
Yeah, he might have chosen to defect. It doesn't take away from the fact that the chief of staff to the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was advising and structuring and strategizing with somebody to stay in the party and disrupt the political system within it in order to ensure that his party wins. Now, while we have come to consider that normal in Nigeria as part of just the way politics is played, it's a very absurd thing. And one must ask themselves, what is it exactly about Peter Obi that is so terrifying to this government? Right? Why are they so afraid? And that's the bigger question. Why are they so afraid? Right? And I think it's because they recognize that with Peter Obi as the president of Nigeria, it's not business as usual. There will not be back deals. There will not be scheming. There will not be cheating. There will not be embezzlement. All the things that they have come to describe as normal and live by. Instead, you will have a government that is serving the people and working towards the betterment of every Nigerian. And so they cannot tolerate that. And that's why they are fighting tooth and nail against it.
Now, I will have you speak on expectations and what this means for the opposition. But let's go to the WhatsApp platform so I can take some comments and maybe you can react to anyone that gets your attention, right? Obidient Man and Maker and NNPC Tower says, greetings to the guest. I have said it a number of times that we must beat the ruling party to their game, and we achieve that without mincing words. The supporters have checked, or the analysts have checked the pros and cons and where the pendulum could swing. We found out that the best way is for our principal and Kwankwaso to jump into the next political ship, and this has caused sleepless nights to the ruling party. Don't forget that all these litigations here and there are because of Peter Obi. He moved to the Labour Party, moles planted. He moved to the ADC, ghost factions here and there. But thank God that we are finally here with the two biggest political movements in Nigeria, is what Emeka shares as his reaction. And, okay, I don't see your name here. Okay, Timin Lugbe says, I'm excited that he has jumped from the ADC. It's natural instincts to run out of a burning house. Besides the lingering litigations against ADC as a party, the statements made by Tiko during an interview was a slap on the faces of Obi and Kwanko, so you don't have to slide others to make yourself relevant. Lest we forget, he hasn't supported a Southern presidential candidate since he left office as VP, in spite of the tremendous support that he has enjoyed from the South. Okay, it's a long read, so I have to cut short your message right now. Thank you very much for understanding. He ends with Nigeria will be okay. What could be more toxic than going to the polling booths to beat up people because they are not of your group or belong to your party? What could be more toxic than saying it's my turn, grab it, snatch it, and run with it? Not just the followers. Take a look at the demeanor of the leaders. Anyone can say or do anything online, and ASAP it is pinned to a candidate because they are the easiest target. Data and empirical evidence show that Obedients are educated everyday Nigerians, is what the Patriot shares. We can't take voice notes right now, so you have to type out that message which you want to be read out. These politicians are political and move around a lot, changing at random just to satisfy their needs. Are they really looking forward to meeting the needs of the people or their pockets, changing from the CPC to APC, the PDP to APC, the PDP, APC to ADC, ABGA to LP, and the list goes on and on, all in recycling. They carry over their traits to these different parties, nothing spectacular about them. How can I take these people serious? My problem is not the politicians, but the electorates who have not been effective in their changing patterns. They choose money rather than leaders with conscience that have the fear of our creator. How can we be celebrating people who are looting the commonwealth of the country? Is how Hyginus Ojeba ends his message. You would have 45 seconds to share your thoughts. I'll take 2 quick calls and get back to Dapo to share some reactions. All right, so 45 seconds is the time you have. Good morning.
Good morning, Itodo. This is Abakar calling from Gwagwalada.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Yesterday, I was downcasted when the news came that Obi and Konkoso they have defected to NDC. This is not a smart move. They have diminished the capacity of opposition to wrest power from Tinubu come 2027. They are doing this to fill the boat of opposition. It is better for opposition to present a unified, stronger Bible platform.
All right.
So that they can sacrifice all their presidential ambition and feed one candidate. But as of now, it will be many-legged race.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. You're up next. You have 45 seconds. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Dickie.
Welcome.
My name is Alex, and I'm calling from Jabi.
Alex, we are distracted by the beep from your vehicle. Can you move away from there or close the door?
Okay.
Yes.
I think the P2B defecting to NDC, that's the best thing that happened to Nigeria and the opposition. How do I mean? Now, we are not sure of ADC with their litigations. At the end of the day, if all of them put their heads there and INEC and the courts later not allow them to contest. It means that all the opposition are buried in that party and none of them is going to contest. Now, Peter will be leaving ADC to NDC. He has even given opposition another chance in case if they didn't succeed there, at least they will see other place that they can come and oppose the ruling party.
All right, so Alex.
Rather than condemning him, people should commend him.
All right, Alex, thank you. You're up next. 45 seconds. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning once again, Itodo. Abubakar Ali, aka Tinubu Gymnast, and we keep picking calling from PW Kubwa. Mm-hmm. The best thing that has happened to the re-election bid of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is this defection. We the members of APC, we are even celebrating it more than the Obidient. We need more of that so that when they split the vote, we can easily conquer, divide and rule. Omo, we thank you. Thank you for the wonderful job.
All right. You're up next. 45 seconds. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Itodo.
Welcome.
This is Mary from Guagualala.
Welcome, Mary. Go ahead.
Yeah, Obi's defection is the best thing that has happened. Since they do not want him in one party, he moves to another. He's not a troublesome person. You hear the content that's always say, Obi, how many people does he have? Where's the number he has? And he doesn't talk about them. Obi doesn't talk about them. Obi is talking about Nigeria. Obi has never mentioned their names. I just had the skit you played from Amity. And he was asking, what is the number Obi has? That was what they said in 2023. Where is his structure? And he bamboozled everybody. So you will see the number when it is elections. If they don't want him in one place, he moves to another place. And I want to let Atiku know, when you are holding somebody down, you are also holding yourself down. Because as long as you hold that person down, you cannot stand up.
All right.
So since he has always been there to hold Obi down, he too cannot stand.
All right, Mary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's get back to you, Dapo. Dapo is the spokesperson of the Obidient movement and is providing clarity to us today on the defection of Peter Obi and Kwangoto from the ADC to the NDC. You heard some of the thoughts and the reactions shared, varying opinions. Some say, well, it's a good idea to move. Others say this dampens or diminishes the pull that the opposition would have had if they all stayed together as a coalition. What does this mean for the opposition?
Well, I particularly like what one of the people that's called in said, in the sense that at least this is a lifeboat for the opposition, right? There's nothing that stops, His Excellency Atiku from joining the NDC as well as other members of the opposition, because it's become very clear that the ADC itself is not a suitable place, owing to the fact that there's a bunch of litigations against it right now being used by the ruling party to try and butcher the opposition. So the NDC is now a safe landing space and has, by all indications, selected, two prominent people that can offer change as its leaders. And so it's a brilliant strategy. And I understand what the other gentleman that called and said this is APC's dream, but let's not forget that if we do go into a 3-horse race, the assumption that APC will win could be proved to be very wrong. Actually, what we could end up with is the fact that nobody will win under the first turn of the election. Right. If nobody meets the quota, then we'll have a rerun election, which would be an interesting turn of events. So there's this arrogance, if you will, that they will win. And that arrogance, in fact, funny enough, is not a product of the support of the people. I don't think anybody, and I know people in the APC, right, and I've spoken to them in private, right? So when the cameras are not on, they all know that the people do not support them. What they are banking on is their ability to, rig, to bribe, to buy votes, right? That is what they are priding themselves on, right? And they think that that's what we call political strategy. But they forget that Nigerians have seen enough, they've had enough. They've been played so many times that going into this election, we will see a change.
All right, so let's get into understanding, really, because there's also the fear that what happened with other parties could also happen to the NDC. How sure are you? Why should this be seen as a credible alternative? Would we not see the same infiltration play out as well? And if this were to happen, would there be an option or even a chance to move going by the election calendar that has been released?
No, there is no election calendar. There's no chance to move thereafter. I think the window is closing now. And the NDC has a structure that cannot be disputed. The founders of the party are still in the party. They're the ones that welcomed His Excellency Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso, Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso to the party. So there is no, am I saying that it means that those forces will not try? Of course they will try, and they're more than welcome to try. But let us not overlook the fact that Nigeria is not, we're not Cameroon, right? This country is in a delicate balance as it is, and anybody who is wise will know that you cannot turn this country into a one-party state. It would be a very risky strategy, to say the least. And so, I don't believe that is the goal. Their goal is just to disrupt and keep everybody busy so they can't focus on the election. And His Excellency Peter Obi has seen through that and has decided to find a place where he can call home. And again, the biggest and the most important factor is Nigerians don't care. Nigerians, I personally, as long as many of Nigerians, what is important to us is who will rule this country in a way that will be beneficial to us, who will help us afford 3 square meals, who would help us be able to pay, who will give us electricity. The basics of life is what people are bothered about. Whether it is under NDC that we get it, or any party that His Excellency goes to, Peter Obi, then the people will follow because they've seen in him hope. They've seen in him that leadership can be different, right? And so they are willing to go with him wherever. I think, there's going to naturally be a big ruckus about him moving. Why did he move? What does this mean? All of that in the larger picture, trust me, does not really matter. Nigerians are desperate for one thing, and that's change. And the only person that they know will give them that change is Peter Obi.
Well, when you say Nigerians are desperate for change, it begs the question, what would change typically look like? Because one time too many Nigerians have been promised change. And in the things that played out, well, some would say that was change, but disappointing in the way that it came at them. Let's run through some of these comments on our social platforms, YouTube and Facebook, where we are currently streaming. Oyewole Fatunla says, Obi's current political trajectory, if accessed, dispassionately reveals a narrowing horizon by positioning against an incumbent Southern president expected to complete 2 terms while pledging a single tenure. And the subsequent handover, he has effectively compressed his viable window to 2027. Should that bid falter, President, and your own commitments would compel difference thereafter? This is less a question of ambition rather than of strategic sequencing. In elite politics, timing and structural attitude are paramount. Self-imposed constraints rarely reward even the most calculated actor. With this character of his, he can't lead while he leaves the country if there's challenges, or will he leave the country if there are challenges? Is what Wale Fatunlo shares. Nigerians really need good governance, equity, fairness, and justice, regardless of party affiliations, religion, or tribe, is what Ozo Francis Namani from Amangunze ends his message. And let's see if we can take this one from the YouTube platform, who says, Azubike Chijioke, this is what you get when you put personal interest and it supersedes general interest of the people. One person's ambition killed the coalition. All right. So let's have you react to any of that, if you may, as we close the conversation today.
Well, firstly, the first comment that you read is very, very interesting. I think that person needs to write a book. A lot of grammar, but I didn't fully understand, anything that they were trying to communicate in other words, right? And the last person spoke about personal ambition trumping, the collective good, right? I don't think that is the case. I don't know who they are referring to in this case, but I know that certainly it's not Peter Obi, right? because Peter Obi, unlike most others, does not live off politics, right? I can't think of any other person who, has a successful business outside of politics, in mainstream politics today. From everybody from our Senate president to our president and many of the other people, they live off politics. So this isn't about him making money or anything like that. This is him literally taking a hit in his business. Members of his family had their properties destroyed, literally taking a lot of personal risk, in service to the Nigerian people. So definitely it's not him that they are referring to, right? And ultimately, this election will be about one thing and one thing only, right? Have the lives of Nigerians been improved by the 12 years of APC governance? That is the critical question that we will answer in 2027 at the polls. Has the lives of Nigerians improved between when APC came to power? We saw the first installment of APC, and we thought that was the height of suffering. And now this last 2.5 years have shown Nigeria that there's even another level. And if people are stubborn enough to go down this road again,
just as supporters are saying that the government of the day is doing great, supporters of other political candidates are also saying, well, that is not the case. So it seems as though it's one word against the other, and the belief is that's not accurate. It's not my word against their word, right? I think all the empirical evidence suggests that Nigerians are doing worse. I mean, the percentage of Nigerians in abject poverty from 2 years ago has increased by almost 15%. The inflation rate is up. All the indices that point are suggesting that Nigerians are doing well. So it's not my personal opinion. Don't fight me, fight the data. No, I'm just sharing with you, who is saying what and what perspective or direction you're coming from. But to wrap up this conversation, Dapo, I'm going to ask you to, share your parting thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Right.
Go ahead, please.
At times like this, people really have to ask themselves what is more important, right? Because I think most Nigerians I know that most Nigerians see that it is time for us to have a different kind of leadership. The people who are hell-bent in APC and supporting this government, I have no intent on, I have no hope that they will be convinced. God knows what they're thinking, right? But I want to speak more to the people who know that it's time for change, but who are too worried, who are too, who are almost giving up and want to sit down at home and say, you know what, who cares? Let them just see. Everything is on you. Like, honestly, to those people, everything is on you. Your children and children's children will benefit from your decision to come out and vote. If you create a Nigeria that you can live in and be proud of, you will not have to be a bloody immigrant somewhere else. You can be proud of your own country. You can support your own country. So I would encourage those people to not give up hope, to come out, vote, and fight for their vote and defend their vote so that together we can have the Nigeria of our dreams.
Thank you very much, Dapo Adaramewa. He is the spokesperson of the Obidient movement as well as a governance consultant. Thank you for your time. Well, the real question is whether Nigeria's political actors and citizens are willing to move towards a more accountable and issue-driven system away from all the toxic politics and internal crisis we see every now and again. You can catch up and watch the conversation, keep the conversation going on YouTube and Facebook at Nigeria Info Abuja. You can go on to also share with your community. At 9 o'clock business news, and afterwards Sports Drive will be live. My name is Itodo. Have a good Monday.
Wake up to us. Go to bed with us.
All day and through the night.
On your Let's Talk station.